Hey, good morning, Wade Hampton High School students. This is Mr. Popat. I am the director of the Fine Arts Center, your neighbor right next door, and I am so pleased to be asked to participate in the Wade Hampton High School Virtual Career Fair. So I have some notes here, so if you see me looking down, that's why. All right, so again, V. Popat, director of the Fine Arts Center. What led me to my current job? Well, I started out as a band director. I actually went from my undergrad straight to my master's. I have a master's in jazz education and undergrad in music education and music performance. And then I started teaching, got my first job right away, and I taught elementary school. And then got offered a job in my hometown, really good music program. I was there for 11 years. I started out as a middle school band director and then worked with the high school marching band, high school jazz ensemble, ended up doing some more high school things. And then after about 8 years, middle of the year, I moved on to be the supervisor of visual and performing arts. I supervised 45 teachers, 5 departments, and 6 schools. And I did that for just over 2 years, about 2.5 years. And then I made a career choice. I decided that I didn't want to spend my entire life in one place, in one school district. I tried to look at it backwards. Sometimes it's important for you to think about where you're going to be at the end of your career and what that would look like if, when you're 65, do you want to just have been in one place, which is totally fine, or do you want to try your skills elsewhere? For me, I'd been a student in my hometown district, obviously, and I had a good teaching career. I was teacher of the year a couple times there, and so I had a good reputation. I wanted to see if I could do it someplace where I had no reputation. So I did a lateral move to visual and performing arts supervisor in West Essex, which is right here, representing there today. And I did that for about 6 months, and they identified me as a possible candidate and asked me to interview for the middle school principalship. And I said, yeah, great. I loved working there. So I became middle school principal and did that for just about 6 years. The reason why I say about is because these job transitions were never clean. They always happen in the middle of the year. That's the way things sometimes work out. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we visited Greenville for the first time and were blown away. And eventually I got my South Carolina principal's license and started applying for jobs and applied for about 3, 4, 5 of them until I finally got their attention that I was serious and came down, interviewed for Fine Arts Center, and here I am doing what I love. It's awesome to have gained experience running a school, a public school, as a middle school principal, and now being able to do that, but also still being able to connect with what I love, which is the arts. So I'm very, very fortunate. Okay, so they asked about schooling and experience. Undergrad, Virginia Tech, go Hokies. Love that school. I chose it because it was a liberal arts college with every major possible. I did not know what I wanted to do. I was a political science major for the first day of class. I sat in the political science class for 15 minutes, learned about what I was signing up for, and said, nope. And I dropped the major on that day, and I became university studies with a music minor. Finally convinced my parents to let me do music, and their requirement was that I get an education degree so I could have a job as opposed to relying on being a performer. By the time I got my degree, I earned my Bachelor of Arts. I was not ready to teach yet. I wanted to study jazz, so I got into the University of Miami's Frost School of Music. Had an incredible experience there. It really made a profound impact on me. And as far as administration, I had no plans on being an administrator. I wanted to be a band director forever. And someone who was very influential in my life, a man named Rick Martone, probably my favorite non-music teacher, taught history. He saw me one day in the middle school and said, I think you'd be a great administrator. And just somebody planting that little seed makes all the difference in the world. Okay, so I signed up for an online degree from University of Scranton and did my master's in educational administration from University of Scranton. I'd love to go back to for my doctorate, but I'm still paying off student loans, so that's not going to happen. Okay, so what do I do in my job? I'm technically a principal, but I don't have a lot of the things that your general high school principals and assistant principals have to do, and I have some things that they don't have to do. Running an art school means also finding alternative sources of revenue. Because our kids in our school get a lot of masterclass experiences. They have a lot of guest artists. They go into summer intensives where they travel across the country to learn. So it's a different format. So there is a bit of fundraising and publicity that may be above and beyond what a high school principal does. We don't have any athletics, but we do have a ton of evening events. So it's very, very different to run a school where you have all 100% highly motivated students who really want to be there. So it provides some different challenges because with those kids, you need to constantly try and raise the bar and look ahead and motivate them in different ways. So you'll find if you decide to run a school one day, it's super rewarding. You get to impact a ton of people. You do as a teacher too, but as opposed to just your classroom or maybe a few classrooms or maybe 100 kids, you're influencing maybe 3, 4, 5, 600, 1,000, depending on the side of the school. So, and you have to enjoy thinking on your feet. You have to enjoy engaging with crises and de-escalating them. You have to enjoy working with people, sometimes difficult people, and finding a way to de-escalate and work through solutions. So you have to be quick on your feet if you want to be an administrator. Similar as a teacher, you have to be quick on your feet, but it's just a larger scale. And I think it's very important that if any of you are going to be leaders, that you understand that leadership is not yelling or commanding or saying that I'm the boss. Leadership is influencing. Leadership is working with people as they are and trying to help them to increase their strengths and finding a good team that covers up each other's weaknesses. It's not barking out orders, and that's unsuccessful leadership. And I've seen it and I've worked under it. And so at least my style is collaborative, and I try and get the best out of my people. An average day, again, there are no average days as a building leader. You have your schedule, and then things come up, and you have to adjust. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to smile. You have to look cool under pressure. The best part of my job is going into classrooms and being with the kids and seeing them work, and the teachers, especially at the Fine Arts Center. It's just great. But when I was a middle school principal, the best part was going in classrooms and being with the kids. The hardest part of the job is helping people through emotional situations. Sometimes parents call, and I'm a parent, and you're emotional about your kid, and you're trying to help them through that, but also be firm and fair and being consistent. And again, as a leader, never letting your emotions come into play. That's difficult because everybody cares. But that's really the hardest part of the job, and I enjoy that. Long-term career goals are to build the Fine Arts Center up into one of the nation's finest. We have the capability, we have the students. It's just a matter of changing the angles of certain things, and that's my long-term goal. I love my job, and I plan on being in it for a long, long time and getting better every year. My advice for students: never say never. I never thought I was going to be an administrator. I never thought I would be a high school or middle school principal. I never thought I would move out of New Jersey. Never say never. Always be open. Always, try and look through things with a wide lens. Advice for students in an interview: prepare. Put yourself in situations where you're under pressure and you can teach yourself to succeed and be clear and have good, clear thoughts. Remember that when you're interviewing, you're not only interviewing for them, but you are interviewing them as well. Just don't be cocky. Stay clear-headed. I have 10 more seconds. Job outlook. Good to go. Thanks, guys. Hope this was helpful.